This is probably the most mathematical custom keyboard you have ever seen. Enter Wind Studio's brand new Sin65. Sin here is from the sin cosine formula from mathematics trigonometry, and beyond its mathematical inspiration, this is actually quite a decent 65% keyboard, and this is our review of the Sin65. So what is the Sin65? Well, aside from its bottom case, which is again inspired by sin cosine from trigonometry, you also got these pretty nice sides with curves here and there that gives it a unique aesthetic, especially when compared to other 65% keyboards in the market now that are focused on just delivering great value for money while just being rectangular slabs of metal, but I'll get back to that later on. Anyway, aside from that, there are actually 3 ways to mount this keyboard. You can either top mount it, use the gaskets, or even go plateless, though that is only for the soldered build, obviously. By default, it also ships with an aluminium plate and a polycarbonate plate, so that's pretty good. You don't have to add on extra stuff if you don't want to. As for pricing, this is where the Sin65 is a little bit different than other offerings in the market now, for better or worse. Retailing from $288 for the wired version or $308 for the Bluetooth model, it's about 1,300 to 1,400 ringgit, and that's not really good value in today's market. But where the Sin65 doesn't deliver on value, it makes up for it in terms of design and other aspects that we'll cover in this next section. Okay, so let's get to what I like about the Sin65, starting with the side profile. I mean, when was the last time that you see a keyboard with curves on this side rather than just a rectangular, angular, flat piece on the side? It feels very nice to the touch, the curves, and it just makes it easier to pick up the keyboard if I need to. Speaking of which, the finishing of this keyboard is also noticeably better than those value for money keyboards that I've mentioned earlier. Compared to say the QK65, this feels like a more premium product. It is not say as high-end as the most expensive custom keyboards in the market now, but it is a nice middle ground in between the QK65 and those higher-end $400, $500 keyboards. Of course, the stainless steel weight is also quite nice and unique. It doesn't look too boring, and if you're a math nerd, I guess you would appreciate this. Beyond that, the sound profile of the Sin65 is quite decent too, if you like a clacky keyboard. For our particular build of the Sin65, we only used the plate foam and the case foam. We did not use the IXP sheet, which would sit in between the PCB and the switch, and this would really make it a talkier board. But again, if we use this, it'll sound no different than other keyboards with a PE sheet installed. Anyway, aside from that, we also used Gazzew's very famous Boba U4T switch, which is known to be very talky and very poppy, and as you can hear for yourself, quite talky, yes, but if you hear the Namro, which we used the Moyu Hedi switch, you can really hear how inherently clacky this keyboard is. This is not necessarily a bad thing, of course, especially as I mentioned before, if you like a clacky keyboard. It's also worth noting that we are using the aluminium plate for this, so if you want to deepen the pitch, go for the polycarbonate plate instead, which is again provided with the keyboard. As for the typing feel, we gasket mounted the Sin65 and it's okay. It doesn't feel too harsh and neither does it feel very bouncy, and it's a nice middle ground in my opinion. If you want an even stiffer typing experience, then top mount the Sin65. If you want a more bouncy, more flexible typing feel, go with a plateless build, but again, you have to go with a soldered PCB for that particular build because hot swap boards can't secure the switch quite as well. Now let's talk about some of the things that I don't quite like about the Sin65, such as this escape key. I get it, this is one of the main design appeals of the Sin65 according to Wind Studio anyway. As they separate the escape key, the chances of accidentally hitting it is reduced according to them, but in my opinion, it breaks the overall symmetry of the board and it's just not that nice to me. Aside from that, we also have to address the Sin65's value proposition, which isn't very good. Compared to the likes of the Neo 65 or even the Cup 65, which are comfortably below the 1,000 ringgit price point, this could go anywhere between 1,300 to 1,400 ringgit, and it's tough for this keyboard to compete with the likes of those two keyboards. Granted, you are paying more for the overall design of the Sin65, but whether or not the price difference is worth that is entirely up to you. But me, myself, as a person who really wants value for money, it's a little bit tough to make that kind of decision. So then, is Wind Studio's new Sin65 worth it? Again, it is up to you. If you are willing to pay the price for a more unique looking keyboard, then yes, I would say it is worth it. But if you want sheer value for money, just know that there are other keyboards that will serve you better in that sense. Assuming you manage to join the group buy, because those keyboards have entered already, so yeah. Speaking of group buy, this keyboard will enter group buy between 19 September to 19 October, and as mentioned, Reebok keyboards will be the Malaysian proxy for the Sin65. The Malaysian pricing has not been revealed quite yet, but we'll put it right below here as it's been revealed by the time we're editing this video. And that is our review of the Wind Studio Sin65. Yes, it's a unique looking keyboard. Yes, I do like how it looks, but whether or not I will pay the money for it is an entirely different question. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and always stay tuned for more good stuff to come here on this channel and Nextrift.com.